welcome to StabtheDragon Productions this third day of April 2025 for match number 7 in my Canadian Blended Whiskey Tournament, where I am looking at 5 of the most popular Canadian whiskies. Tonight's competitors are Seagram's VO and Black Velvet. I conduct the match blind with blacked out Glencairn glasses here so that I can't cheat by looking at the color of the whiskey, because sometimes there's enough of a difference between the whiskeys that I would know which is which. And part of the fun in this is I do try to guess which whiskey is which at the end of the taste testing. Now the winner is determined by taste primarily, in that if I was given the choice of these two whiskeys for 5 nights in a row, which one would I choose 3 out of those 5 nights? And in case of a tie, the price, value, and availability is the determining factor. I have put the Black Velvet in glass number 1 and the VO in glass number 2. First, I'll discuss the history and award points for the winner of the history. Seagram's VO, Canadian whiskey, a blend, product of Canada, imported, Canada's finest. Seems like that label's making a point there. In 1917, Seagram's VO was released in honor of Joseph Seagram, the owner, his son Thomas's wedding. VO at that time was a 10-year-old rye blend and became their biggest seller. Nobody today knows exactly what the VO stands for, maybe very own or very old. This whiskey comes in at 40 ABV or 80 proof, and there's no age stated, although I've seen that this may be a 6-year-old elsewhere online. This 750 milliliter bottle cost $19.95 in December of 24 here in Fort Worth, Texas. It is owned by Sazerac, and it is produced at the Diageo Valleyfield Distillery outside of Montreal, but it's bottled in Louisville, Kentucky. Quite the parentage there. Already in this tournament, Seagram's VO defeated Crown Royal in the first round, but in the second round just lost to Canadian Club, 1858. And I had previously rated this whiskey when I reviewed it as a 73 or a B-. Black Velvet, coming in at 80 proof, aged for 3 years, although if you check on the website, it kind of leads you to believe that maybe there's stuff in here that's 11 years old, but the minimum of the whiskeys that's in here is 3 years. According to the bottle, this is blended at birth. This Canadian whiskey dates from, I think, 1951, but some sources online that I checked said 1949 or even 1946. And so depending on which source you're using, but I think the 51 is the best source. Black Velvet originally was produced at the Shenley Distillery in Valleyfield, Quebec, but now it comes to us from Lethbridge, Alberta, but it's owned by Heaven Hill. This whiskey is aged in new charred oak barrels, similar to bourbon. Some of the stories behind this whiskey mention that it was a staple on board submarines in the Navy in World War II, and even was involved in the Battle of the Midway, which, no. If this whiskey dates from 1951, that's clearly years after the Battle of Midway, almost 10 years. So I seriously doubt that story. I don't know how that story would even get started. This whiskey has won 3 medals recently in 2023. Gold at the John Barleycorn Awards. It won Best Canadian Whiskey at the Ascot Awards and the Consumer Choice at the SIP Awards. So that's actually some good performance there, but I don't know, whiskey awards, who knows. Prices. Total Wine has this in Fort Worth in a 1.75 liter for $16.99. But at 750 milliliter, Goody Goody has it for $10.59 and Specs for $10.94. This is one of the less expensive whiskeys that you can get. 3 years ago, when I first reviewed this, I rated it as an 80 points and a B+ for drinkability. Now, when it comes to history, I'll give the prize to the Seagrams. It's got a much cleaner history and older. Bottle label and marketing. I've tended to really like the Seagram's bottle and the label. And I think probably marketing may go to Black Velvet, but all in all, bottle label and marketing, I'm going to stick with Seagram's. I like the dark glass. I like the somewhat gaudy label. So bottle label and marketing and history both go to Seagram's. But now let's get on to the contest. I'm going to start nosing these left to right, and I've mixed these glasses up, so I don't know which is which. There, I'm just getting kind of a whiskey smell. My nose is totally inadequate for the task. Smelling most bourbons and Canadian whiskeys is almost impossible for me. I'm getting just a little bit of sweetness, corn. The one on my right. Even less of a nose. So I'm going to say that in the nose category, that's a tie, and really I get nothing. So let's, I'm going to start with the one on my right, because that one seemed to have a little bit less of a nose. So I'll start tasting. Some sweetness there, a little bit of maple flavoring, a little bit of wood, some spiciness. Just right off the bat, I really think this is glass number one in Black Velvet. But we'll see. Mouthfeel. You know, I'm going to say a little bit thin, but probably medium. Burn. It actually has a decent amount of burn to it. Kind of surprising for 80 proof Canadian. Finish. The tingles, the little bit of a burn does linger, but the flavors don't stay that long. I am getting the taste, the flavors in this tend to be some corn sweetness, but a lot of spice, like rye. Definitely some wood and hints of maple in there. All right, I'm going to rinse my mouth out. Moving on to the glass on my left. And that is definitely the VO. So I think this is glass number 2, VO. There, with the VO, I get a heavier dose of corn, almost no spice, mildly sweet, no wood, not really any of the maple seasoning, maple flavoring, whatever. There's no hints of maple in here at all. This is, you know, a little bit on the corn side. And that's, for me, that's how VO comes across. So I'm convinced this is number 2, Seagram's. The mouthfeel. It's a little bit thinner than the first one. And again, there's really not much of a burn going on there at all. The finish evaporates fairly quickly. There's no lingering tingles. just a slight trace of that corn sweetness, and that's about it. So let me rinse my mouth out one more time. Back to the one on my right. I'm convinced that this is glass number 1, Black Velvet. And I'm gonna say this is the winner. It has a lot more going on with both the taste, the flavors, the mouthfeel, burn, and finish. So I'm thinking this is glass number 1, Black Velvet. And it is. There's the winner. This is glass number 2, Seagram's. So we have a winner. Black Velvet for the win. And we did correctly guess which was which. I mean, the flavors are very different. Now, because Black Velvet won, it will get a cocktail. I'm going to pause this right here and go create a cocktail. And we're back. I have made a Canadian maple old-fashioned. I used the Black Velvet, a little bit of Angostura bitters. I've got 2 cherries in there and some maple syrup. I did leave out the orange peel. Let me go get the orange peel going. Okay, there, that's better. Got the orange peel in there. And this is really one of my favorite drinks. It works perfectly with Canadian whiskeys. And I prefer the maple syrup to just sugar or simple syrup. That is quite delicious. All right. Well, next time. See, Black Velvet was the challenger. I had 5 whiskeys. That makes for an uneven tournament. So I used Black Velvet as the challenger. So it's worked its way completely up, challenging each of the losers in every bracket. And so here we are. It's going to be Black Velvet versus Canadian Club 1858 in the championship round. And that will probably be next week or so. For now, get your Canadian whiskey before the tariffs take effect. This is Stab the Dragon, out here.